Okay. Thank you very much for coming today. I'm attorney Gloria Allred. I'll be making a statement, and then Daniella will be making a statement. Anika will be making a statement, and my law partner, Dolores Leal, will be happy to answer any questions. Today, we're very happy to announce that the medical license of Dr. George Tyndall, who for decades was a gynecologist at USC, has been suspended, and he is no longer permitted to practice medicine. Dr. Tyndall has been accused by many USC students of sexually inappropriate conduct towards them when they were his patients at USC. My law firm has filed lawsuits against him and the University of Southern California, USC, and we represent 41 women who allege that they were victimized by him. 2 of our clients in the lawsuits which have been filed against Dr. Tyndall and USC are with us today, and they have been important leaders in our efforts to make Dr. Tyndall and USC accountable and to make sure that Dr. Tyndall is no longer allowed to practice medicine. Their commitment to protecting other students at USC has been a significant factor in the interim suspension of Dr. Tyndall's medical license, which was announced to the public by the medical board yesterday. This result was obtained because the California Attorney General's office contacted our law firm. They asked if any of our clients wished to provide assistance to the Attorney General's office by providing declarations regarding their experience with Dr. Tyndall at USC. We were happy to assist the Attorney General. We notified our clients, and Daniella, Anika, and one of our Jane Doe clients agreed to contact the California Attorney General and provide declarations about what they allege was Dr. Tyndall's misconduct towards them when they were in his care. Ultimately, the Attorney General's office submitted 5 declarations of students in support of their brief, which argued that Dr. Tyndall's medical license should be suspended until such time as all hearing and appeals regarding his license conclude. Our clients submitted the majority of the declarations, and it is our understanding that they were the strongest and most compelling ones. The Office of Administrative Hearings scheduled a hearing for this Friday afternoon, August 31st, 2018, in Los Angeles to decide if there should be an interim suspension of Dr. Tyndall's medical license. Dr. Tyndall's brief was due this week in defense of not having his license suspended. Instead of submitting his brief, however, Dr. Tyndall stipulated, which means he agreed to an interim suspension of his medical license. For that reason, it was not necessary to hold the Friday hearing, and Dr. Tyndall's license has been suspended. Had he decided to fight the suspension at the hearing on Friday, Daniella, Anika, and I would have attended the hearing and requested the opportunity to be heard in support of the suspension. We are very happy about the interim suspension of Dr. Tyndall's medical license. The suspension means that Dr. Tyndall may no longer practice medicine, treat patients, or hold himself out as a medical doctor. It means that the public is protected from him and that women are no longer at risk of harm from him. We thank the California Attorney General's office for reaching out to us and for their outstanding and very professional legal work, which led to this result. We are very proud of our clients who have demonstrated their commitment to protecting the public and making Dr. Tyndall accountable. They are important leaders in our efforts to assert and to protect victims' rights, and we will continue to work with them and all of our 41 clients whom we represent against Dr. Tyndall and USC to win them the maximum justice possible under the law. And now I present Anika. We can
I am so encouraged by this recent decision and have nothing but pride and gratitude for every person who has been a participant in this narrative, each and every woman who is linked by this shared experience, and each and every person who listened to us and appreciated this experience as wrong, serious, and perhaps most critically, valid. Thank you for helping us challenge this unspeakable and reprehensible conduct. It is incredibly reassuring to finally see promises of institutional change be actualized. But I also must say that it is only after initial efforts of renewal have been implemented and standardized that the real test of change begins. How will we take care of things differently next time? Or rather, more importantly, how are we going to stop next time in its tracks? For now, we can concentrate on this triumph and continue advocating on behalf of the hundreds of women who have waited so long to be heard. This conversation is far from over, but now more than ever, I am emboldened by the direction it is heading. Thank you.
Keep going. Okay.
Thank you to all of you that have spoken up to the Attorney General's office. I would like to thank everyone who put in the time and effort to ensuring that Tyndall receives the punishment that he deserves. When I received the phone call from Attorney General Mingardi yesterday afternoon, I cried with happiness and relief, hearing that George Tyndall had his license suspended. George Tyndall, ever since our appointment, I haven't viewed you as a doctor, but now the world knows that you are not. In the past few weeks, I have continued to hurt. This has not been an easy process, but our work is paying off. We are winning justice. I am continuing to see that each voice that speaks up helps win change. The hardest part of all of this is that I view myself as a nice young woman. I view myself as a strong young woman, and I view myself as an intelligent young woman. It is hard for me to be happy, to cry with happiness and relief that someone has been punished. I hate this situation. I despise each and every person that swept this under the rug. In the past few days, I have been researching the discussions online pertaining to this case. I would like to thank the professors and faculty that have spoken up for change at the university. And I would like to thank the student body that has been supportive of them all. At the beginning of this process, I questioned whether asking others to stand up and share their stories would be beneficial. Now, I see how much help each voice brings. I am proud to be up here today to tell the public that George Tyndall is no longer a doctor. George Tyndall, I hope no one ever refers to you or thinks of you as a doctor again. You put shame on our institution, and now your actions will continue to shame you. I felt sadness for the parents and their children during move-in week. I remember being excited about coming to USC, excited about our new adventures, and not fearing anything but the difficult classes. I cannot imagine being a parent and sending their children off to a university with a scandal of this magnitude. George Tyndall, you did this. Everyone who had known about the atrocities that had occurred at the health center, you did this. For everyone that has spoken up, you are helping to win change. For everyone that has risked their jobs and reputation at the university for others, you are helping to achieve change. For everyone who has supported their loved ones and peers during this tough time, you are making a change. Together, the victims will find the justice that we deserve.
Thank you. And before we take questions, we have also a copy of the order before the medical board. You want to stand up? Okay. Okay, this is the stipulation and order regarding the interim suspension pursuant to Government Code Section 11529, and it's before the Medical Board of California, Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California. And the order was signed, says it is ordered 27th day of August 2018 by the presiding administrative law judge, Nancy Beasy Micon, and it was just posted yesterday. So, here we go. Thank you, and we're distributing copies of this. You can also find it online. But I just want to add, before we take questions, that the declarations of our clients in support of the brief would have been submitted to the defense prior to their having made the ultimate decision that they would stipulate. Okay, we're happy to take any questions. Want to move in? Any questions?
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Why was this important to make sure that his license was suspended? You guys didn't speak to that. Did you speak to that a little bit?
Do you want to say? Okay.
I believe that his license being suspended makes a statement that this is unacceptable in the medical practices in the United States, in universities, and also that George Tyndall worked so hard to get a medical license and that now it's suspended. He is receiving treatment that I think he deserves.
And by treatment, you mean the suspension of his medical license?
Correct.
Okay. By the way, this is an interim suspension. Any permanent revocation of his license would take place only after a final hearing, if the hearing officers would find that his license should be permanently revoked. But the point is, this suspension means that he cannot practice medicine now, and even through any ultimate final hearing, and even through any appeals from any decision made at that final hearing. So that is the nature of this suspension. It is protective of the public, to protect the public from any possible risk of harm should they be treated by him in California. It's a suspension of his California medical license to prevent any possible danger to the public. The suspension or ultimate revocation of a license, of a professional license, is for any professional like the death penalty for their profession. Because obviously any professional works for years, studies for years, in order to obtain and also keep their professional license. So this is very, very serious for any medical doctor, or would be for any other type of professional as well. It's just my educated guess that upon seeing the brief of the Attorney General and the declarations in support of that, which would have been submitted as evidence at the hearing on Friday, that is why, or may have been at least a major factor in why the defense decided not to fight it, not to submit a defense brief to argue against it, because of the compelling declarations that were attached to the brief. By the way, for a permanent revocation, it will be necessary to show by clear and convincing evidence that there is a risk of harm to the public
So it would have to
or
take a
danger.
conviction. I'm sorry.
Pardon me?
So it would have to take a conviction?
I'm sorry, I can't hear the question.
Would it take a conviction?
You mean a criminal conviction? No,
No?
but that's a good question. By the way, Dr. Tyndall is being investigated by the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. As yet, there are no criminal charges pending against him. That may or may not change in the near future. We'll have to see what the outcome of their investigation is. But in order to win a conviction in a criminal case, it is necessary to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, or to have a defendant admit to guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Less is required for the revocation of a professional license. For a permanent revocation, it is not necessary to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, or even for there to be a conviction. Less is required. The burden of proof is clear and convincing evidence, which is more than a preponderance, which is the lowest burden of proof, but not as high as reasonable doubt. It's somewhere in the middle. It's what we usually have to, it's what we have to prove in a court of law if we wanted to win punitive damages, for example, damages to punish. But this is a civil proceeding. Clear and convincing evidence is required. So a conviction, a criminal conviction, would not be necessary, although certainly would be helpful, but not necessary.
Are any of your clients working with the DA in terms of pursuing criminal charges? Or
The question is, are any of our clients working with the district attorney in reference to providing evidence that might lead to criminal charges? I'm not able to comment on that at this point.
Once again, what role did your office have in the suspension of George Tyndall's license, and what role will your office have in this final hearing?
Okay. The Attorney General's office contacted us seeking assistance from any of our clients to provide evidence, that is, declarations about what their experience was with Dr. Tyndall when they were his patients at USC. We are about justice. We are not just about compensation for our clients, although that's an important part of justice. So we then reached out to our clients to see who might be willing to work with the Attorney General's office to assist them by providing declarations which they needed in support of their argument that Dr. Tyndall should suffer an interim suspension of his license. And Daniella, Anika, and one of our other clients who is Jane Doe, prefers to protect her privacy, were willing to provide evidence to the California Attorney General's office. And I have been informed that they were very important in obtaining this ultimate result, because their evidence was going to be submitted on Friday at the hearing. And in addition, of course, has been provided to the defense. That way the defense would be able to see what they would be facing if they were to go ahead with a hearing this Friday. And they would need to respond in their brief to the arguments made by the Attorney General. Since they, after viewing the Attorney General's brief, decided not to attempt to defend in other words, argue against the interim suspension, that meant that a hearing was not necessary for Friday to take place. We were prepared to go, and if the officers at the hearing would permit us to be heard, then they would have testified. Even if they had not been permitted to be heard, their declarations would have been in evidence. Their names would have been redacted, but they have given permission today to inform you that they did submit declarations which were in support of the Attorney General's brief. And that's why they're here today.
But for the final suspension, the permanent suspension of his license, will their declarations be submitted, be taken into account by the...
Now, for the final, what we would call the revocation of his license as opposed to a suspension, we don't know what will happen in the future. We don't know whether, if there is a prosecution, whether there'll be a conviction. We don't know if there will be a prosecution. We don't know if ultimately Dr. Tyndall will decide to fight a revocation of his license, or whether he will ultimately agree that his license should be permanently revoked. That's down the line. We don't know yet. Here's what we do know. Anika and Daniella, and I'm sure many of our other clients, will be there in the future to assist and to provide any evidence that may be relevant in support of Dr. Tyndall's never being able to practice medicine again. But for now, the public is protected, and that's something we're very, very happy about. And that's the order. I say that because some people told me they couldn't find it yesterday, but it's here. And the Attorney General's office has told me how appreciative they are of our clients having helped them, and that it was very important in the ultimate result. Okay, any other questions?
Danielle, how far back did you wish this to happen, that his license be taken away?
As soon as USC ever had reports of Dr. Tyndall's misconduct, that's how far back I wish his license had been suspended and ultimately revoked, which allegedly was 30 years ago.
Anything else? Dolores, would you like to say anything? My partner, Dolores Leal, who's working very hard on all of these cases. So we are going to be continuing to file lawsuits, and we know that there are several hundred women who have filed lawsuits, and I expect that number to continue to increase, and we'll continue to seek justice. Thank you so much for coming.
How many clients do you represent?
Oh, 41.
41?
There are 36 in lawsuits so far that we have filed, and we are continuing to receive emails and calls from other victims. So we are retained by 41 at this point, and we'll be filing additional lawsuits in the future if, as, and when it's necessary and appropriate to do so. Thank you.